So that's something that you could have, like, for instance, in a Google Doc, like to tell to the participants, so what exactly they should do, so to agree on a sentence that they will have to type. So for instance, we can also ask, at the beginning, before they write something, that they have to read it like 3 times before they start typing, so they know what they're going to type, and then to decide how many conditions you're going to test and which condition exactly you want to assess. Now, for the assessments, I mean, for the NASA TLX, I think I have an Excel sheet somewhere where I have the different questions that you can ask to the participants. But the same for the SUS, the System Usability Scale. And then there will be another survey that we could ask to the other participants. So that will be more about questionnaires after the experiment. I mean, we can have one questionnaire per condition. So there are really different ways how we can assess these things. So we can have one participant, and then they're going to do the task, like they're going to work on different conditions. Or we can have one participant, and the participant is going to work only on one condition. So after, for the statistical analysis, so that's going to work a bit differently. It's not like we're going to compare the scores like between, but you compare the groups. But to be better to have for each participant to make them work on the different conditions. And after, of course, for each participant, so to have for each condition different sentences, because if they type 3 times one sentence, obviously, if they go through another condition and if they have to type the same sentence, then they will be faster. Then there is the effect of the fatigue, so we have to randomize the order of different conditions. So if you have 4 conditions, then one going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. After those, one going to do 2, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So we have to mix these different conditions. And in relation to the justifications of the, I don't remember if I sent the link. What's this? I'm hearing something. I don't know where it's coming from.
It must be on your end because we're all muted.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I hear it too.
Is it for me?
Maybe there's a video or something playing.
My Discord. Okay, I'm going to. Ooh, maybe it was on Discord. One moment, because I have to check. Well, anyway, so at the same time, I'm reopening the NASA Marines thing. And today I got the email, so that we have the funding. And basically, once we get the funding, we can kind of buy like anything. So I saw, like the lip motion. So someone mentioned the use of the lip motion, something that could be used. But basically, the controllers, that's good enough. And based on the virtual keyboards, really there are different possibilities, different papers that can be done in the future. So that's really strong foundation there to compare different things. And let me see, my mic was muted. Oh, well, anyways.
I was going to say, Dr. Scotty, we have a few questions for you as well.
Yes, go ahead.
So one, for the hand controls, we are only going to be using the index finger, right? Or do we want to track each finger?
Well, just one is enough. But the issue, because when you type, given the fact that the hands are quite big, so I don't think if it will be possible to use more than one finger. So that's going to go like this, just using the index on both hands. Now, if you want to use more fingers, is it possible to type while not resting the hand and while not touching anything? Because as you're pressing the keys, like, I mean, when you have a a real keyboard, I mean, you're pressing something. So you have like, you're touching something. But when you don't touch anything, is it easy to move different fingers without any feedback about what you're typing?
I'd say no. I'd say it's impossible.
That's the thing, because
Yeah.
you don't look at what you're typing, so it's reversed. So you look at the keyboard, and the text is printed on the screen. While if you have a real keyboard, then you look at the screen and you don't look at the keyboard. So unless you can look at the keyboard, I mean, unless you know the keyboard well enough that you can go with it using multiple fingers, and then you can look at the text box where the text is being displayed, then I don't think that going with multiple fingers that's going to be worthwhile. Even going like left, right is more like to allow the user to use both hands, because maybe some are going to, something we have to track to know for the participants if you're left-handed, right-handed. But just going like that, so that's fine. I think that's fine. So going between using the fingers, using the index versus using the laser pointer versus using the head. So yeah, there are different ways that we can do it.
Okay.
And just to add on the hand controller stuff again too. Just a question, because we were able to get it to collide with the UI button and for it to respond, so it does interact when you press it. One of the issues that we've been having though is the index finger collider. It's too big, so even if you get off just a little bit, it'll press multiple keys. And I use the SteamDR right hand hand collider, and I narrowed it down to just the tip of the finger, but it's still really inaccurate. You have to be really like precise in order to get a good key press, or if you slightly move, it'll press multiple things.
So if maybe
I don't know if there's any way we can work with that.
If you can share your screen, I mean, all of you, I'm setting you as a co-host. So it will be possible to add just a box, like a box that could be empty. And then on this box, so you can, to add a box collider and to modify the box collider so it's small enough.
Oh,
so if you move, so in the oh, my thing is still loading. In the prefab in which you have the hand, I think you have also the collider that are attached to the different parts of the hand. So if you give it a name, if you have a name for one particular collider, so you can, if you drag and drop, for instance, in Unity, so the prefabs are like game objects where you have all kind of things that are already attached to them. Like let's say if you put your prefab inside Unity, so you can, inside the hierarchy where you have the different game objects, so you can unpack the content of this prefab, and then it becomes a game object. Now, if you have a game object and you want to convert it into a prefab, so you just drag and drop your game object that can contain various things, and you put it into the directory in your folder. So you may copy a prefab of the hand. You copy the hand, so you're going to have a new prefab. Your prefab, you put it as a game object, you unpack it, you modify whatever has to be modified, and then you drag and drop this prefab into some folders, into the assets folder, in the right place in the hierarchy, so you can extract the thing. So the hand that you used, so if you go in, so you have, if I go in left hand, and for the left hand, can you tell me which one?
Am I able to share my screen or?
Yes, please go ahead. So there is render, model, prefab.
So this is the hand that comes in the.
Yes.
Let me zoom out. This on the hand collider.
Yes.
On the bottom side hand physics. This is the hand. The finger index 2R is the main finger index. It's right at the tip. You can see it's virtually, it looks like it's not there, but that's because I made it as small as I could so that, see if I could gain some accuracy. But even with doing that, it's still pretty inaccurate. So that's the whole hand. And again, just the tips is what I wanted to get.
Make sure that when you play, so if you stop, let's say you play the program and then you press the pause button, this one, then you can verify once it's paused that the different elements in your hand are properly the right size. It's maybe possible that maybe a script that within the script is going to readjust the size.
Yeah, you're right.
The different colliders. So to verify that this part is properly as you want once it is paused. And if it's not the case, well, on the fly, you can say, well, now you have a game object. And I'm not sure, because if it's within a prefab, so if you can modify the prefab, what it is, we can modify the content of this game object once it has become a prefab.
Got it. Okay, so I see what you mean. It may be, I was having some issues like that too, that sometimes I would change it, but then once it starts up, things would reset because the script is resetting it. So okay, that's
so
good.
So to verify, but for who, so let's say you have game object point find, so it will be finger index 2R, and then you can access the different properties. So here, get component, so it will be a sphere collider, and point, you get the size, and you can modify the size.
Okay, no, that's perfect.
Otherwise, if you can attach, feel free to attach another element to this thing. So you're not going to access directly the properties of one of the fingers, but you can attach within a finger, so that's going to be a child of one of these fingers, another little component just to get the collision.
Perfect.
So you don't modify what exists already, but you attach an additional element on top of it. So you're only going to access, you're going to verify if the game object that you have added within the game object, finger index, whatever, is the one, when that's going to be the one where you can see if there is a contact or not.
Okay, that makes sense. So basically add another, okay. That I'll go ahead and try that out and see if that helps with the accuracy of it. Because that was the main thing that we were having, but we were able to get it to react when it collides. It was just getting that accuracy that was a little bit complicated.
Very nice, very nice.
I don't like it. I don't like using the hand.
Yeah, I don't either. It's very tiring.
Head laser pointer all day would be so much easier.
But laser pointer coming, okay.
Yeah. So another thing, Jorge produced the keyboard on the right, and it's a little bit different from the one that you made, to where when you go and you click a group of letters, it brings the options up right there, just like that, instead of circular around the big circle. I thought that might be a better variation compared to yours. It's just my opinion. But I wanted to ask if we decide to have 3 different keyboards, would that be okay?
Yes, as long as we have a good question about what exactly we want to assess between these different keyboards.
Okay.
And we need a justification about why does it make sense to use this one compared to another one.
Okay. And then also another thought that we had was, we were thinking that, because when you start the program and you're looking at the regular keyboard, it's right in front of you. You have to turn to the right or left to look at the other one. Would it be better if we had a toggle keyboard button to where each keyboard is right in the same spot in front of us when we use it?
For the position, so they could be at different angles. Like there could be one in front of you, one on the left, one on the right, one on
like
the
Nate
right.
said.
And then the participants will just have to change. So this part is just, it's kind of a detail that we can fix at the end. And here it's more like, okay, they're just aligned next to each other, but...
Okay. So when we turn our chair to access the other ones. I like that. Okay.
And for the main one, as you can see, where it's written output text. So there is a keyboard on its own, and then there will be the possibility to study where we can put, if you can put some feedback to know, to tell to the user directly within the field of view where we have the buttons, what is currently being displayed.
Have you been able to try the new code with everything?
No, I
Okay.
haven't yet, but I will try. I will try
Okay,
it.
perfect. Yeah.
And then
We also had another question for you. So we're going to be testing for ergonomics, correct?
yes.
How exactly would we do that?
So I mean, we want to test the speed. So how fast we're going to type using these different keyboards. We're going to. So let's say we have a sentence. So we want to know how fast we're going to type this sentence. So we want to know when we go from one letter. So of the average duration to type one letter, standard deviation to type one letter, number of letters that we type on average per minute, standard deviation. And then we have the time, yes. We have also, statistical measurements, basic statistical measurements to the distribution of how fast we're going to type. So between the different keyboards, so that's for the speed. We may have some errors. So because the goal is to write the full sentence without any error. So we have to count, even though we can go fast, but if we do lots of corrections, then we need to account for these things. So we want to know how many errors we will do over time. And I mean, they will be corrected, obviously, because we want to make sure that at the end, when we compare the string, it has to be exactly the same as the one that is expected. So that's for each condition. And then for each condition, we're going to have the questionnaires. And that's it. Now, there was a link that I sent about, I don't remember the name. Like we want to get the distance between the center and the different boxes, and also in
Fitts
relation
law.
to
Fitts law. Yeah.
yeah.
I got the link if you want it. I'll throw it in the chat.
Yeah, but no, yeah, please. I mean, I have it on my laptop. I'm clicking on the desktop. So to determine, the speed in relation to this thing. So we have the distance between the different targets, the size of the different boxes. So that's why, I mean, we have some boxes in the middle just for the corrections, but the main boxes for typing, so they are the same size. So that's important. And to know, I mean, if at the end, so if you find a relationship between the speed and this law, so that would be an idea. Now, what we can measure also when we start the experiment, so we cannot record the case. However, we can record, like, let's say, even if you don't consider the condition for the XYZ about the headset, so we can record where we're going over time. So if you get the X, Y, Z, actually we have, if you imagine that we have the point for the laser pointer when you use the head, so we want to know where this
So follow the pointer, basically, like where it's been, and how
we
far
want to
apart it's
know-
going. Mhm.
Yeah, we want to record the XYZ of this point. But it has to be across, I mean, it's on the plan. So yeah, so if you record this information,
Would it be-
position you don't because you can move the head also like that. So it's not just about the angle. So, but I mean, you can track position of the head. I mean, record the position of the head when you start the experiment. So to put everything in a list, a very long list, and to do it also, so angle and position of the headset over time. and after, well, we can estimate so how much we have moved. So if you go from one element that was really on the left, on the right, and then to go really on the left, so how much, how often, or not the gaze, but our head is moving over time. So that will be a very nice feature to get and to know, like, if there is a keyboard that's going to minimize and that's going to give a less amount of motion that we go across the different elements, the different items, the different buttons.
Okay, so have like some kind of start point, and then track how far it's moved from that start point, and then okay, that makes sense.
Okay, cool. I have more questions, like always.
Yeah, good.
So, we've been looking at this paper for the conference, and we started an outline. And one of the things I was wondering was, I was looking at the project design that you had written, and the project proposal that we gave to NASA, and then the last competition's paper that you did. And I was just wondering if we can reuse any of that with the paper that we're going to write.
I mean, the thing is going to be a bit different. So, but yeah, feel free to reuse anything that you want to reuse.
Okay.
It's not like it has been submitted in some conferences, anyways. So, yeah, you can reuse lots of elements.
Okay.
I have a question too, real quick. When it comes to the different types of controls and then the different types of keyboard layouts. So, for example, the touch controls with the third keyboard, the one with the pop-up that is the design we had thought of, they don't work very well. Does each keyboard need to be able to work with each control? I would assume yes, right? Yeah, because the problem is that when the pop-up comes, the finger is already touching it. So it then closes the pop-up right away because the finger's touching. So I guess we would have to put some sort of delay on that. But I was just curious.
I mean, there will be two conditions. And on condition, I mean, there are different parameters. I mean, in one direction, in one direction, you want to assess the layout. And in the other direction, you want to assess the input modality. If it's going to be finger touch, if it's going to be laser pointer coming from the hands, laser pointers coming from the head. So here we could have 3. And then for the layout, so we could have 3 layouts. So in total, I mean, if you want to get all the different conditions, so that would be 9 conditions. So which is quite a lot. So maybe we won't be able to ask all the participants to do everything. So we could have a batch, let's say 20 participants that could just assess the different layouts. But I mean, we will have to pick in advance, like which modality which input modality they're going to use. So that's why if we go with a 9, so we will be able to determine if there is an interaction between the modality and the type of layout. So maybe from one layout, a modality works better than another layout and another modality. But going with 9, that's going to be quite long for an experiment. So I don't think going above 1 hour will be good. It depends on how fast the participants. I mean, how long does it take, like, to complete a sentence? Like, if it's just 1 minute, let's say, or 2 minutes. If it's 2 minutes, and they do it 9 times, and maybe there is a little break or something, then okay, within 20 minutes, probably they can perform the 9 conditions. And I think having the headset on the head and performing these tasks for 20 minutes, I mean, it's not the end of the world. But we have to make sure to tell to the participants, okay, well, now you do this, now you do that, and this and that. It could be done even across several days. So if you know, okay, we get 20 students, so one day they come, they're going to do modality 1 and they're going to lay out one, and they go for the 3 conditions, and after they come back another day. That's also possible. So if they come 3 times, and each time they're going to come for different modality, we can assume that that's fair. I mean, yeah.
I like that idea because also then 20 minutes isn't an unreasonable amount of time to ask for participants. Because I think if it was like an hour, like you said, that'd be a barrier to want to try this thing out.
I mean, given the fact that they're not paid to do the experiment.
Right.
For lots of experiments, I mean, I've been in and I have another project where the experiment would be close to 1 hour. We thought without counting the preparation for the experiment. So, but that's usually time consuming. Yeah.
Could we provide an incentive? I know we're getting funding.
Unfortunately not. It's just
okay.
for materials and other things.
I see.
That's quite a pity. But that's not long. I can contact students from CSM 15 who will do in spring, and it could count for them as some professional development.
Okay.
And then what
That would be cool. Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
So what's going on with COVID, Dr. Sakoti?
Well, I mean,
Week
I don't
virtual.
know if you're aware already, but teaching is going to be online until the end of January,
Oh, great. Okay.
and then it's going to start face to face in February.
Bummer. Okay.
Yeah. So the first week, or when does it start? Well, the first 2 weeks was going to be virtual.
I have a feeling that they're gonna just switch it all to virtual again. I guess it just matters on how
I
bad this
hope.
virus is.
So yeah, so week 0, no, third day of instructions on 20, there is 1 week, and after, Monday, January 31st, week 2, 1. I mean, that will be bad because we need to find participants for some experiments, but well, we'll see. So I will test your modality, and I will, and I will tell, because I think to the department, I will have to go for the ethical approval application, so to get really things like in the state of the art, because if you're using human participants, so we have to go through the ethical approval to make sure that what we're going to test with human participants is worth to be done, and so IRB.
They have to make sure that we're not using lab rats, huh? Is that
I mean, but you're not
ethical?
hurting, but you're not,
see.
even showing images that can.
Potentially shock people or
Yes,
okay, I see.
exactly. Or the experiment's not too long, or I mean, it is a study with minimal risk, and we have to tell that it is the case. But anything with human participants, so we have to explain what we're doing.
How long does that process take?
Oh, not long. I have just to fill a few papers,
Okay.
and then to set it at the level of the department. So that should be fine.
Okay.
And then hopefully, beginning of February. So if you can run these experiments, so let's say we could have first week condition. I mean, if you have 3 modalities, and in each modality we go through the different layouts or the opposite. So if you do it in 3 weeks, that could be possible. To get a list of students. As I mentioned, for CSM 15, so there are multiple students that can come and for professional development, or even I can ask for CSI 1 or something, so it can count not as an assignment, but as something. I'll have to see.
Oh, another question I had was I noticed that you had changes ready to go for the. It says in the editor that you have changes ready, or something.
Change is ready.
Um,
Oh, I don't know.
Gosh, what's that called, Jorge?
What?
Where-
On the Unity editor, does it say there's changes for you to sync?
From Dr. Sakoti, it says that there's changes.
Oh, I haven't modified anything.
Yeah, I don't see anything either on
Okay.
mine.
I mean,
Maybe-
I know for me it says, well, modification, blah, 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 but let me see.
I can double check, but I don't see any.
No, it said they hadn't been published yet. That's what it was.
Oh, okay.
So I was just
Oh,
wondering
I see them now.
if you had something that you were going to change with the
I
program.
haven't done. No, I think everything's okay.
Yeah, I see it says 10 seconds ago. 2 changes.
Well,
The main
sometimes
scene
the
and
ability to
virtual
collaborate
keyboard
is
one.
not working. It's not talking the best possible way. So yeah, we can keep the feedback aspect. I mean, yeah, we can just focus on one hand the modality, on the other hand the layout, and that's it. Now for the conference, you could just select a subset of what's going to be done, and then the target will be to go for a journal paper. I mean, if you get all the surveys and all the complete analysis, so we could go for a better venue. So ideally a journal ready to computer, user.
So the first submission is kind of what we're planning, what we're going to do.
You mean for which one? For the conference for students, undergraduate students?
Yes. That's
Yeah, well, for this one,
21.
even if you assess just one condition and you explain properly what it's doing and you just give the results, I think that should be fine.
So could we do like just one keyboard with one modality, or would it have to be?
One keyboard and 2 modalities for at least having a comparison between 2 things.
Oh, perfect. I
That would
think,
be,
yeah,
that would be
that'd be
enough.
good.
That would be enough. However, now if you want a good publication, like if you go with all the different modalities, all the different layouts, and you give like the surveys at the end, and we don't, I mean, because for the conference, if you just, one condition, well, I mean, 2 conditions, we assess the performance, like typing speed for different participants. So we can have a table, the different participants, typing speed for different conditions.
So I mean, we could do kind of like comparing the traditional with the hierarchical, and do only like the head pointer, maybe, right? And,
Yeah.
Okay,
That will work.
perfect. Yeah.
But if you want to go in a journal, or if you want to go to a good conference, then I mean you will need more. So
It says January 17th is like the first submission, and then we write a better paper to submit later.
I will have to check. Even if you go with 10 participants, I mean, there is no need to go with tons of participants. You go with 10 participants, you get the score, like how fast. So as soon as you record the first letter, so you start the timer, you arrive at the end, you get you get the final, you stop the timer. And also let's say if you have a list of events and you get the time, because at the end you just want to extract durations. So for the dead time object in C#, so each time you click on one button, so you get the dead time now. So you get the information. You can go to string, so long string to get both the date and the time. So you record this information, and you can record the button, which has been pressed. And it means, yeah, you can create a class, for instance, that's going to contain only button ID, time, which could be just a string. So you have this class. Now you have another class, basically, which will be a list of objects of the class string and the button, the int containing the button ID to know what has been pressed. And each time you go on one button, so you're going to insert an object into this list. And at the end, what you can do is just to stringify, to convert this list into some JSON. You save the JSON, and afterward you can parse the JSON and analyze it using various programming languages. You don't even need to analyze, to do the analysis using C#. So yeah, a cool event. Before the end of the month, so I can work on that as well. So that won't be long. I know what I want to record, so that will be fine. So yeah, the recording information, the right information is important, and so that's for each event. Plus. So to record every half a second or at every frame, you can do it. The position and the orientation of the headset.
I had a question too, because sometimes it's helpful, obviously, when we debug to print out stuff and other stuff. Is there a way to do that in Unity? Because I had some trouble trying to figure out, like, let's say, for example, I click a certain button and I wanted to console log kind of that information. Is there like something similar to that in
if you want to display something in the console, so you just print. So
and
you have a string.
Okay, yeah, because I kind of tried it and I didn't really see it.
If you are within a script within Unity, otherwise within C#, you have the debug class, so debug.log, and after you write your string.
Okay, perfect.
I will add some examples so you will see. So when you run your application, so in the console, it writes, that's the window in the bottom of the screen. So it writes different things and you can add some elements. Now, I don't remember the name of the folder, as we're on Windows, like it's in user or something. Yeah, but if you build the application and after you run the application, so it writes everything that is in the console into a file. So if the application crashes, then afterwards, it's possible to go into this file and to understand what happened.
Okay, yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
And then I'm assuming too, then we'd have to, just for the purposes of the testing, we'd have to build kind of a UI for, the kind of the accuracy you've had so far and then kind of display what buttons have clicked, or we just kind of want to do that in the back end?
To tell to the user what's going on over time. So as long as we record the data, we can analyze the data afterwards.
Okay, perfect.
Does it log to like a spreadsheet? Are we able to log to like a spreadsheet format or?
So
yeah, I'm not sure how to log on.
If you record the information through some JSON, then after you can do JSON to CSV.
Oh, yes. That's right. I remember from your 130 class.
Even to put it in a text file, a regular text file. So in C# you can do everything like in C++. But having the description of what you want to record into some JSON, so it will be easier to import it in using other programming languages. Yeah.
And is this experimentation necessary for the first paper that's due on the 17th?
We need to record and to tell like what's going to be the speed and to get the average speed per character, the standard deviation across the different letters, maybe to go to have an idea of the distribution of how fast we're typing. So to have it for different maybe to have it for different commands even. But to know how fast, to know the speed, yes.
Okay, so we need some baseline, some metric to compare off of.
Yes,
For,
we need the
okay.
speed.
Okay.
The speed will be the best. We can convert the speed into information transfer rate in terms of the, well, I mean, yeah, we can talk about it later. And if we just compare the layout, so to have the orientation of the headset, so to understand, like, I mean, maybe not, I don't know. Yeah, well, I mean, we want to compare the QWERTY keyboard with this hierarchical keyboard for typing using the head or the laser, I mean, the head laser pointer or the hand laser pointer, or, I mean, yeah, that would be fine. But at least, you know, for the results section, so we need some meat. We need to give some values. We need to even to have some plots, like to tell like over time. So if there is a change of the speed for the different participants. So if at the beginning maybe they're going to be slow, and then the performance is going to increase over time.
Okay. Okay.
So if you have a duration between two consecutive letters that have been typed, so you can display this duration over time.
Okay. Okay.
And for the plots, yeah, Fresno State, so we have access to MATLAB, and it's very easy to plot these things. So typically what I do, I mean, I do all the plots, all the analysis in MATLAB, and that's very quick. Even for generation of figures and stuff like that. So, yeah. How many pages do you have to write for the conference paper, the undergraduate conference paper?
I think it's 5, right? Max
5,
5.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing is to have a good amount of references, the number of references, so it's 5 pages, 2 columns, but to have 1 page with at least 1 column and a half just with references. The first page should just be about the state of the art. So what are the virtual keyboard that exist in the literature, types of hierarchical keyboard. Then you can do a little paragraph about virtual reality, the type of controls that are being used in virtual reality, and then a presentation of the different layouts. I mean, that you have maybe a figure to represent, so how you go from one character to another character, so to represent this tree. So that could be 1 page just for a description of the system, even more, because we have some figures. Then after 1 page for the results. And then, so you may discuss at the end, because discussion and conclusion, so it's always an important part in a report about what could be done next, or even what you're going to do after the submission of this paper, like what else we can compare. Like we can compare other modalities, maybe there will be, we can compare the size, maybe we could do it with other different participants. But even in the experiments, yes, when you describe the experiment, so you have a description of the system, and then you have the description of the experiment. So to know for each participant, how many males, how many females, how many are left-handed, how many are right-handed, what the age of the participants, have they used virtual reality before? Yes, no. Have they used this type of control before? If they have used virtual reality, yes, no. So when you report all these things, I mean, you have some nice tables, and you present these tables, so we know with who, I mean, who has, who were the subjects, the participants in the experiment. So that's something important to mention. After we have to describe, well, we told you the experiment to blah, 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 and we have to tell, well, they had to do, you explain the task, what they had to do. The order of the condition was, I mean, the order of the condition was randomized across participants. There was no reward for completing the task. So all these little details, and after, you know, it goes quite fast to write a paper.
It's also a great way of explaining outliers if nobody's used virtual reality, and then all of a sudden those are the slowest people, then we can explain that as an outlier.
Yep, exactly. And then to explain the context as well in the introduction. So there is one element about, well, just about virtual reality, just how fast we want to type. But if you want to sell the project, well, it was part of this NASA Minds project, like how in space, so using virtual keyboard is important in terms of amount of weight that could be decreased, the amount of equipment that is limited. So if you can provide information, but we are already in the proposal about glass cockpit and how it can go from real cockpits to glass cockpit to virtual cockpits using virtual keyboards, for instance. So that would be a good way to sell the application.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that the project design PDF you wrote, we could really analyze that well and convert it over to using in the paper for a lot of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I just didn't want to, like, I don't know, wanted to make sure it was an okay thing to do before. Sometimes you want us to think of our own stuff, and when writing papers, I tend to struggle with coming up with, you know, really good, smart sounding sentences.
Well, write whatever you have, and after, I mean, it's an iterative process. And after they come back and you rephrase, I mean, you are multiple in the team. So as long as you know, like you have a thread, but after you follow, you have a bunch of sentences, you rephrase these sentences, and after things are coming together. I mean, it's a long process. And for research, I mean, you take probably more time. I mean, the amount of time that you spend coding is really limited compared to the rest, where it's about writing reports and, I mean, writing reports for writing research papers, writing reports for searching for money and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So for this paper, just so we can kind of hash it out better, and so we're ready to, let's say we choose to do, like I said earlier, we choose to do the hierarchical keyboard, and then we choose maybe the traditional, and then we're specifically wanting to do just the head pointer. Then we would obviously discuss that in the paper. Those are our two keyboard layouts. This is our control. And then when it comes to the testing, we discuss we're doing typing speed, and then what other stuff, what other metrics could we use again? It was the typing speed and the kind of the distance between the how much movement they're doing, right? And what else was it?
Accuracy.
So typing speed, and then you have the typing speed. So you have the average for each participant across the different letters. You have the standard deviation across the different letters that you have in the sentence. You can talk about the skewness, the kurtosis, so different statistical measurements when you have a distribution. Then we have the mean across the different participants. You have the standard deviation across the different participants. If you want to compare both conditions of our statistical analysis, so it's possible to use Wilcoxon sign rank test, and then you get the p-value. I mean, is the performance the same or different? Even if it's just a quick survey at the end. I mean, which one did you prefer?
Yeah.
You know, which one did you prefer? Which one you think would be it would be easier to use in the future? And then again, like, did you play video game? Do you use VR before? So to try to get a relationship between the performance that we get on these different keyboards and maybe the characteristics of the different the characteristics from the different participants, who they are.
And then how many, you said like 10, 15 people is kind of enough with that for this first paper? 10, okay, perfect.
Yes. Ideally, if you can go with 20, that would be great, but a dozen would be fine.
I had a bunch of volunteers from my church that were willing to help. The only problem with that is they're all older and none of them played video games. None of them use
And might be
VR.
biased.
But one thing, but not maybe not for this conference, but for other places. There is, I should have to contact. There is a Central Valley something. So for people with disabilities, like for lots of people, you know, if they are on a wheelchair and if they cannot type, so they could use such a system in order to type text. Because for lots of people, you know, even for they are paralyzed and they cannot move, well, they cannot move their hand, their legs, they cannot use their legs, they cannot use maybe their hands. And if they can move at least, you know, their head, they can turn a little bit their neck, so they can move the headset, and therefore they can select different letters. So if you can find such people, then that would be really great. But that would be probably even for another paper where we could assess for these people, like maybe you could just focus on one type of layout and then compare. Well, I mean, for modalities, obviously they won't be able to use their hands. But if you find disabled people who may use their hands, and I mean, we could do some nice things. And I mean, at the end, maybe it could be an application that you could sell.
Yeah, that's really cool sounding.
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea,
That's
especially
not a bad
the
idea.
head modality. Yeah, especially with the different keyboards, the distance really does matter then, because maybe they can't move their
Yeah,
neck
if
too
you
much.
cannot move your hand a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't have any other questions, but yeah, if whenever you can, Professor, check out the code that we were able to publish so far. Any feedback? Anyone else too? Eric, Nate, Narinder. Eric gave me some feedback already. Nate and Naren, if you guys put some feedback too, so we can continue with the code.
For sure.
Excellent. I have another meeting with some other graduate student in a few, so I'm going to let you. So have a nice day and see you next week. And if you have questions, yeah, let's.
You got
Let's
it. Yeah,
complete
we're
each other.
shooting to have a rough draft on Monday for this paper. Really rough draft, so we'll probably hit you up
So
with some
please
questions.
put it in the shared drive.
Okay.
Whatever you have, you put it in the shared drive, and then you can put all the drafts over there, and then I can write as well.
Okay, cool.
Perfect.
We'll do.
Thanks so much.
Perfect. Thank you so
All right,
much, Dr.
see you next
Scotty.
time.